Welcome to another episode of the Real Israel Podcast with me, your host, Chaim Mailspin, or rather, Joshua.
Maybe I'll be the host today.
Maybe, do I interview you? Do you interview me? I'm just glad we're just Galileans.
We're in the studio. We're in the music house. This is
right
great.
Here.
This is home.
Sea of Galilee right over that way. And you have surfboards here.
Got some surfboards here. We like to get, as Jewish believers in the great Rabbi Yeshua, we like to walk on water as close as we can get. And that right now it involves supboards or paddleboards because our faith isn't quite there yet.
But then the reality, as we're here in this place of peace, I feel it's like a refuge of peace here. Just the feeling, because everyone's kind of losing their peace in some ways. I mean, kids are crying. That's stressful all night long, running in and out of bomb shelters. Yeah. And but I know Israel's doing really, really well in this war.
I'm in and out of Israel right now. This season of my life, my son, like you, my son's in active duty. He's in Gaza right now.
Yeah.
My daughter just finished. But we came back to visit you guys because we're in the States right now. The day the war started, the day the bombs, that night, the rockets started. So I've been able to watch this guy and his family handle it a lot like my kids are. Really, just a high level of peace, right?
That's true.
In and out of the bomb shelters, and then because we're in the Galilee, a lot of the rockets are going really high and they're on their way to more deeper into the country. So we get to watch them. Right. And stand outside a little bit longer. In Tel Aviv, you can't go outside because they're kind of on their way down, Yeah. So it's a lot more dangerous. It's dangerous here, too. It has been because we've seen some have landed, big ones landed in the area. Yeah. But in spite of it, I'm watching you and your family, and I'm surprised even my kids who have been in the States for a season right now, coming back to oh my gosh, there's rockets. But the peace over our family by the grace of God.
I remember you and I just praying there, reading some verses of victory for Israel.
Yeah.
And suddenly we're looking at, we're hearing the sirens begin. And I just said, as we're both American Israelis, Jewish American Israelis, and I said, did they get the 4th of July, date wrong? Because the fireworks are supposed to be later. It's June still.
It's not the 4th of July yet. Yeah.
But you can either cry about it or you can just understand God is still protecting Israel, defending Israel. And it could be Pharaoh's army, it could be the Persian army, it could be Iranians.
The parallels are unbelievable. And just the idea of this being a nonstop, cyclical thing where it can only, and I don't use this word lightly, but it can only be satanic. It just makes no sense that the civilized world would be against the only democracy in Israel, where women have 100% rights, more rights in Israel than any other Middle Eastern country. And just that idea where Israel has never started a war, we've only pushed back, or in this case a preemptive, knowing it's for all to see that their intent was to destroy us with nuclear bombs. Yeah. And yet the United Nations and yet the world, people in democratic countries think that Israel's a bad guy. It can only be some evil thing dislodged inside their hearts.
It's a fight for survival, for our very survival. Yeah. Just like when Haman wanted to obliterate all of Israel. Haman was living there in Persia, which is now called Iran. Yeah. And so there was a conspiracy theory or something that the actual meeting with Hitler that happened back in the day caused them to say, they call themselves Aryans. Aryans, the elite race. We will be called the Persian Aryan. I don't know about that. I have to check into that.
Did the name change back then?
Around this time, there was a change from Persia. I don't know exactly. I have to check into that. I don't want to push conspiracy theories. But what I do want to say is that when you hear them in their parliament meetings chanting death to Israel, there's and now we're going to get better trash trucks for the subway.
Nope.
Death to Israel, death. It's just constantly, you'd think they'd be talking about other things. Yeah. But it's death to America, death to Israel, and they mean it. And they mean it with the nuclear weapon, for sure.
And I'm thinking that when I mentioned, I don't over-spiritualize things, but, when you talk about Israel, and we've said this many times, you probably said this a lot of times on your podcasts and out and about, as they say, in your wife's home country.
Yeah.
Out and about in Canada. Is that Satan has to be playing a role, and I just think about the era that we're living in as Jewish believers in Jesus. Yeshua, who of course 2/3 of his miracles happened right here in the Galilee. Yeah. When he was in Jerusalem, he said, "You will not see me again until you welcome me back, until you say, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai." He said this to our Jerusalemite friends, our Israeli brethren, 2,000 years ago. Well, he didn't come back yet, but we were scattered for 2,000 years. You know, my great-grandparents were killed in the Holocaust. My grandmother made it here, thank God, in the early 1940s, mid-1940s. But we're back. Okay, so he said, I won't come back until you welcome me back. Well, we weren't all here to welcome him back. Right. Now we're back.
Right.
And if you just think about Satan behind the scenes, his ultimate demise is the beatdown of eternity from Yeshua. And Yeshua's coming back, and the great battle between him and Satan is going to happen, right? I'm not a end times theologian, but this is all going through my mind during this whole thing. I'm trying to understand how this can permeate what we would call normal people's minds and hearts, how they can chant what Hamas chants, river to the sea, about any people group.
Right.
Is Israel,
right, that's the
maybe
whole
some
Israel.
people are confused right now in Israel,
right,
but not as a whole. Maybe some people might say something like that, but never publicly, never on the streets,
right.
Kill all Palestinians. Nobody would ever say that. Nobody ever has said that as a people group.
One of the ways
but how
I know
can
that,
civilized world get away with, how can they say that except that something beyond us they've allowed to enter their very soul, an evil to speak, that's a genocidal phrase.
Yeah.
River to the sea.
Intent.
Yeah, that I don't understand, except that Satan is involved in this. And I don't say that loosely, almost never, but that's my only explanation.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely true. You know, if you think back, well, there's two different ways to look at this. One is you go back to the very beginning of time, okay? Very beginning of time, where you have this battle in heaven, big battle in heaven. You have Michael the archangel fighting. You can read up about this. Fighting with the devil, Lucifer. He's thrown down. A third of the angels thrown down as well. Okay, and you have this great battle. Michael the archangel was the lead general of the angels fighting against Lucifer. Okay, so then you have the time for Aliyah. Jumping to Daniel now, book of Daniel. I think it's chapter 10. And so you're jumping there. You have this time for Aliyah, and Daniel's praying, and it's like it's illegal to pray in Iran and Persia. Babylon, Persia, they had the Medes and the Persians, and so you had this. You can't pray. He's like, I'm going to go in the window. I'm going to pray for Aliyah. For Aliyah, is what we've done is the Jewish people returning to the Promised Land from the four corners of the earth. And so what happens is he's praying. Why am I not getting the answer? Why am I not getting the answer? And he's like, finally, he finds out Michael the archangel is like, I was fighting against the prince of Persia. That's what was happening. I'm fighting with the prince of Persia. We're like, well, are you the same Michael that was fighting the devil and in the beginning of time? Age doesn't affect him. He's an eternal being.
Whoa, we're digging deep here.
We're going
you're taking this. Whoa.
And he fought the prince of Persia, and it took him not this quick. 21 days of battle. And it doesn't just say the prince of Persia, it says, and the kings of Persia. But there's another promise that goes on later, which says the kings will perish. It says God will break the bow of Elam. Prophet Jeremiah says the bow of Elam. What happens to an arrow when it's in its rocket launcher? Okay, this is all these missiles have to be shot from a bow, which means a rocket launcher. If you, that's what I think it is today. And I will destroy the rocket launchers from Elam. Elam is the ancient word. That's the ancient word of that territory of Persia. And so we're seeing there's a battle going on, and it's not over. And we know that after that, the Prince of Greece will come.
We're underneath the battle right now. We're in it.
Yeah.
You're in it.
But he will destroy the king of Elam.
Wow.
And he will scatter them. But eventually he's going to regather them. So I think right now is that time of judgment where it's just as true as gravity. If you curse Israel, you'll be cursed. You bless Israel, you'll be blessed. The world is finding out that God has a special plan for Israel.
Yeah.
I totally see that.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at you with your M4.
Yeah, M4 flat top with an M5 sight on top, the rod and thy staff.
You're
got the Glock 19 as well. Because I'm an active duty soldier, I have to.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm supposed to carry it always, and I'm called up all the time.
I was walking into the studio. There's three Army Jeeps full of just like you. I'll see him here. He'll show up with dust all over him because he just came out of the desert. All the guys about your age in their 40s, they're just coming out. They're just pulling up in their Jeeps, just like, yep. They don't have a big smile on their face like you do. It's real and present. the danger around us right now. And
yeah, but back to this thing about the spiritual battle. You got to take action. You can't just sit in your house. You have to also. That's a very Hebraic thing. Is not now. I believe in Plato as his philosophies. No, you know what? Socrates. Tomorrow I'm Socrates. I've changed. No, that's all in your mind. No, in Israel, action. Hebraic action. And going and serving and defending the sheep. That's a very. I say this all the time, but shepherds have shepherd sticks.
Yeah.
And they don't just need to feed their sheep. Let's just say the wolf comes and grabs the lamb into the lair. We call that a Hamas tunnel. You got the good shepherd. If we're following the example of the good shepherd, he would leave the 99 to get that hostage. And that's what we've had to do, is to leave, is to go into the darkest lair of the wolf and rescue that lamb and bring it back. Some of them haven't come back alive. We'll bring them back, even their bodies. And that's what we're working on, living or dead. But I know that they were started by Iran. The Hamas was they were funded, fueled by, armed by Iran, trained by Iran.
Yeah.
Even the tunnels and all that.
Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis are all proxies, right?
And back in 1979 is when you had the switch from the Shah. 1979 is when Ayatollah.
Oh my gosh, I go back. I don't know if you guys are watching. Go back and just look up Iran pre-1979.
Oh
it's unbelievable.
It's like Israel.
These women, the women were going to college. They didn't have to do. They didn't have to just cover everything.
Shot for having their hair down.
Now they will, but back then it was unbelievably free and just. It seemed so beautiful. It was like a beacon in the Middle East.
Yeah. Can you believe that poured acid on there if they're suspected of something that's bringing dishonor to the family? Instead of you brought dishonor to the family, acid on the face.
Yeah. And
beaten to death.
This
jailed.
goes, and this kind of leads. This is leading me to just thinking about what. Of course, it's an evil. It's an ultimate evil. But extreme Islam leadership is destroying the world. It's destroying half of humanity because women are they're worth nothing. Compared to most democratic countries. Afghanistan. I mean, America was there, and whether you justify the war or not, for 20 years, those women were going to college.
They were.
Little girl, if you were born 20 years prior, you were born into a free-ish society. You're going to college, you're going to school.
Yeah.
And overnight, when our terrible presidential move, this last president, pulled us out overnight, their whole lives were destroyed. That's why people were trying to jump on planes and trying to get out of there.
Oh, yeah, they were holding on to the plane. Let me on.
They knew their lives were over as they knew it. Now it was going to be some sort of almost like holding cell for hell, at least especially for women.
Jihadist heyday with all kinds of American weapons, too.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And then you fast forward to Iran. You've met people out and about and out in the world. I meet Iranians all the time.
Oh, they're
the
lovely
most
people.
Beautiful people you'll ever meet.
Them.
Because there's this.
And I love the accent.
I know.
I'm from Iran. I am from Iran.
It's a soft dialect. Yeah. I love it. And they're always and what I tell these people all the time that are like even pastors I know that are. I was in Greece a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I brought a tour to Greece. My first one. I brought my daughter with me. And I lead groups to Israel. I know you do too.
Yeah.
The discipleship.
Yeah, we've got.
That's amazing.
And they come to the Vertical Galley House of Prayer, which is actually right near the studio music house.
Yep.
Vertical Galley House of Prayer, and they stay, they pray, they learn, they volunteer. It's great.
And I thought, well, I'm not sure if the Israel tour will happen this year, which our tour seems to be happening in October. Right. But we brought a group to Greece, and a couple of people recognized me, which I couldn't believe it. Like this pastor recognized me. And he asked me about the war as if like, I don't like, he wasn't standing with Israel.
Okay.
And I remember being really confused. And I had to give him a speech and like real quick. Even though he listened to my music, I thought it was amazing. He didn't, completely almost like sided with the Palestinians, not understanding fully that we're talking about Hamas that needs to get, So basically what I told him was, you can only see Israel as a minor part in world history if you see yourself replacing Israel.
Okay.
In other words, the church that's not standing with Israel, they think they've replaced Israel. They are Israel. Israel is a bunch of people just trying to take over land.
Right.
What they forget, first of all, history. We're a bunch of people who have been slaughtered just the last major war ago. 6 million of our people, my great-grandparents, were killed, hunted down throughout history. But if you replace Israel, then if the church replaces Israel, that's the only way I can find them coming to this conclusion in some way, outside of historical should be enough. But of course, they're ignoring history, and they're saying, well, this should not happen. This should not happen. But if you want to be biblical, Israel, of course, never stopped playing a role in history because Jesus is coming back to Israel, and Israel has to play a part. And the Bible says in the last days, and we know this, that we say it in Israel all the time among the believers, Kol Yisrael yivasha. All Israel shall be saved. Are you talking about the church? No, because the church is already saved. We're talking about Israel, not the replacement of Israel. So this is this stuff we have to battle, that it makes no sense except an arrogant church that's become so puffed up, like Israel. If you read the Bible, we're guilty of that.
Right.
We become so puffed up, we think we're better than everybody else. We forget the God who made us who we are and blessed us where we are.
Yeah.
And the church becomes so puffed up that they look down upon Israel and don't realize this is the older brother that these things are happening to. And I have an end to it, and I totally forgot what it was, but it's coming.
But they voice that, or they project that, I am better, I have all the blessings, and they got nothing, they'll never have nothing, and then they can just side with others that are similar to them, like jihadists, extreme jihadism, and just agree with them.
Yes.
Well, we're all part of this camp, we're all the big, better, and Israel's nothing. Well, I think God's really proving that he still has his hand on Israel.
Yes. Oh, I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Back to Iranians. And this is what I told him at the end of my little spiel. It was a lot shorter than what I'm saying right now. With this guy I met in Greece. I said, you know, my biggest example of standing with Israel or understanding Israel is if you meet a new believer that's not been indoctrinated into church history as if the church has replaced Israel. And I know most of you don't believe in replacement theology. It's just a thing, though. I encounter it a lot. But you meet every Iranian I've met. I visited the refugee camps in Europe. I go to meet them. I go to meet the refugees, our Christian brothers and sisters in Iran, in all across the Arab countries. We love them. We stand with them. I wrote a song called "Every Tribe" on behalf of them because I want a Messiah to come and stand with them and protect them. And as it says in the New Testament, like he hears the souls of the saints crying out from the ground, "Avenge us." There's this aspect of Jesus coming back as the warrior king.
Yeah.
But if you meet every Iranian who gets saved in Iran, instantly stands with Israel. They have no prerequisite. Nobody's taught them anything, that they're better than anybody else. They think, oh, Israel, that country just a couple countries over where my Messiah came and grafted me in. I can't believe I'm grafted in. They're so, it's such this, they don't need to be taught anything. They're just reading this from the scriptures.
They don't need to be untaught.
They stand with Israel. It's unbelievable. And that's my biggest example, because everybody else it's always people who are kind of puffed up and they think they're better than Israel or they've replaced. They don't see the biblical picture that is so clear if you just look at it as the Bible itself, not saying how do I fit in the Bible.
Right.
How does the Bible fit me in the scheme of the kingdom of God? And that's beautiful, and especially through Iranian people's eyes. I've seen it so many times.
Oh, I love that, and I do believe in the destiny of Iran. I do. I love to see how, you have this promise of Isaiah 19, where you have Assyria, my people, Egypt, my people, Assyria, my handiwork, Israel, my inheritance. And so instead of this corridor they call it the Shiite corridor of terror, to bring weapons through Syria to Hezbollah to kill us, through Syria to Judea and Samaria to kill us, through Syria through to Hamas to kill us.
Wow.
So instead of that, it would be a corridor of blessing. Instead of trying to find the weapons, blow up the weapons caches, and then they get more, and then no. It's a corridor of blessing. They come to bless. We go to bless. And
Isaiah
I love
19?
that. Yeah, Isaiah chapter 19. And I look at when they first supported Hezbollah was 1982. 1982, the establishment of Hezbollah in Lebanon, they said, we're going to back you in order to essentially kill Israel, kill all of us. They backed Hamas from the beginning. And you have this, you see even in Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini's eyes, just this hate, this darkness, this and so then I know in 2010 was the first time we as a people along with America said we've got to do something about this nuclear program. It was getting worse and worse and worse, and it was called the Stuxnet cyber attack done by the U.S. and Israel to attack the Natanz specifically, not Fordo or Parchin or Arak or the other ones, but that was the biggest one, and that's just collapsed right now. You look at footage, you see right now, after all this time of worrying about it, Netanyahu goes and hacks in, our prime minister hacks in with Mossad agents and brings out the proof that they're building, they have centrifuges, they're going nuclear weapon on us, and they're lying to the world that it's just for, they're just complete lying to the world, that it's just for energy, civil energy. And so shows the drawings. It's like, explosion of a bomb, nuclear explosion, mushroom cloud. And Netanyahu is showing this to the UN and showing this to the world. And I remember no one listening to him. I just remember no one's like, Netanyahu, he's on about it. No one cares.
Yeah.
They weren't like, now we got to wake up. Now we've got to do another Stuxnet. Now we've got to do something else. Everyone just let it go until Israel had to just handle it on our own. Minutes to doomsday. The nuclear clock was clicking, ding, ding, ding. Yeah. Doomsday for the world, not just Israel.
Yeah.
When you have an apocalyptic, jihadist, anarchist mentality that's governing everything you do, that is something that could seep into any country if they don't. People say the word wake up a lot, but if they don't understand the truth, I like to break that down. Wake up, understand the truth of the Bible. God has a heart for Israel. He's got a plan for Israel. We need to raise our children to stand for what they believe in, not just stand for video games
or just join a crowd.
Join the latest crowd. Yeah. And so we're in this time where we've literally, the major generals taken out, damage to a lot of their facilities, but we can't do the rest on our own without, at the time of this filming that is, we can't do it without America, because those are 30,000 pound bombs. 30,000. Our planes can't even lift them. That's just a known fact. It's not a secret thing. We can't get them in the air. You need like a B-52 or a B-2 Spirit. You need something that can, and those
can only. Do you think America's going to help?
America has a lot of those. They parked them, if you remember, at the beginning of the war, they parked them in that Diego Garcia base. You remember that? A bunch of B-52 Spirit, all these different kinds of bombers. The ones with look like the V, the ones that look like the two big long wings.
Yeah.
All those, they were all parked over there like a majority.
We saw some huge ones over our house last night.
Oh, yeah.
It's the biggest one I've ever seen, because we're where we live, where our house is, where Chaim does too, it's just, we're a hill, and then it's the valley to the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah.
And then, so most planes have to fly as low to the ground as possible so that they don't get detected by the radar in Syria or Iran or Iraq over that way.
Yeah.
So they're always like clipping our mountain, And last night,
over the house.
Last night it was like huge. My wife was looking it up. It was one of those. I don't know.
So what
it might not have been, but it looked like it was carrying huge things.
Yeah,
huge.
I believe it's official. Trump has agreed. Yes, they're going to help us, and they're going to. What does it mean to get to the bottom of the reactor? Not just the top where we were able to bomb and collapse the roof, but to get to the bottom. That needs a bunker buster to get those floors down. The only other way to do it would be to drive a ton of trucks and pack in explosives down there and then wire the charge.
Nobody wants to have a 5 years long war to get to that.
Yeah, to get to that. No. So this would end it immediately. Now, I know some Americans are saying, Israel's dragging us into wars that we don't want to be in. Don't you realize you've already been brought into it? Without Israel. Israel's saving your life. But it's looked at like, no, if we just appease them, it's almost like appeasement is an answer. Some people think appeasement is an answer. That's a non-answer. We saw what it went with Obama, what it went with the Taliban. Was that safety for Americans, American troops, American people? No, it wasn't. So I think that we're at a change. We're at a historic moment now.
Yeah.
We're alive. It's just like the 6 Day War. That was like a world-changing moment. History being written. I study about that. People are going to study about us, how we've acted, how we've lived in this time. What we've done.
These are the moments in the history of our people. My mom's uncle, Zvi Epstein, died in the War of Independence in 1948. 19-year-old boy. I was just reading the article the other day. He just fled the Holocaust. He was like, 11 or 12 when he fled, and then 7 years later he grabs a gun.
Oh wow!
And even though the whole world agreed that the United Nations said, "Hey, you guys can reform," but they still kind of withheld their hands, and now we're all on our own in 1948.
Yeah.
All the nations surround us. We should have been gone, but by the grace of God, God allowed us to survive. And in 1967, my uncle, my mom's brother, He survived. He's still alive today, but half his platoon was killed. He was a paratrooper to take Jerusalem in 1967.
Wow.
So and now our kids, like for me, I can't believe it. Like our family, it's like God wanted our family to be on the line. And God willing, my great uncle Tzvi is the only one who gave his life, who will give his life. But our family, and now I'm watching you as the first generation of your family to put it all on the line over and over, in and out of war. And then watch you show up for dinner. They invite me over for dinner the day he gets back from war. Hey, want to come over for dinner with your whole family?
Yeah.
And we're having a blast. Is there any I feel like it's heavy. For us, we're sitting underneath what all this action. He's in it. Any hope we could shift to the hopeful part of God's promises? Because I know there is. I'd love to talk about that.
No, well, 100%. This is okay. If you believe in the Isaiah 19 that we just talked about, a place of peace, a highway of peace that goes from Egypt all the way up to Syria, and it's just a time of where they learn Hebrew. It even says they speak the language of Canaan. It says there's an altar at the border of Egypt, and it's to the God of Israel. This isn't like the Oslo Accords. Well, let's divide you kids up. You stay on that side, and you stay on that side. You don't talk to each other ever, and you can worship. You can do jihadist terror training, and you can do your Torah studies. Okay, and everybody's happy now. That does not work. Oslo Accords has proven that it doesn't work. It's proven. And what it is you need to have a togetherness.
I just found the verse. Sorry, I just found the verse. You said they would speak the language of Canaan.
That's awesome. Isn't that great?
And Isaiah 19,
Isaiah 19, read it. And we're all children of Abraham. We need to be together. The family needs to come together. But there's blockades to that. One blockade is called Hamas. Another one's called Hezbollah. Another blockade to the Bible promise is called Iran.
Wow,
right?
yeah.
So, and the Houthis also. These are blockades to that plan. Once the blockades are removed, the highway is open. There's blockades in a highway. Think a bunch of blockades. One's called the Houthis, gone. One's called they're on their way out. And the big blockade, boulder in the road, is Iran. No matter how you look at it, you could beat back these bad kids in the neighborhood, but they just regrow because Iran would just continue to feed them. So it was Father's Day a few days ago. I was there in Gaza. I was able to get signal in this certain area. I got a message from my kids. There were little videos saying Happy Father's Day and stuff. And I just thought, boom, to the origins of Hamas. I know, that's so crazy. It's all because of fathers. You know, in 2005, we had left Gaza entirely, completely gone. Not a Jew in sight. No Jews, 21 cities, villages, evacuated.
We destroyed our own houses that our own people had, or took our own people
completely
out of their own
by their
land.
hair, dragging them by their hair, women out and saying, "You're out." I don't agree with that.
No.
I think it was a big mistake.
Obviously, I think everybody, even the people who did it, would look back and say, "Whoops."
Yeah, but Ariel Sharon says Oslo Accords. It's going to be great. Oslo Accords.
Yeah.
Oslo, Norway. They know what's up in the Middle East.
Yeah.
What? But anyway, no offense to Norwegians. We love Norwegians. But the Oslo Accords themselves weren't good. So what the point is we're completely gone. It's paradise of a place, really. Beautiful houses, fancy cars, the gold district. They have a gold district, all kinds of rings and necklaces and all that. Then you got these beach houses, beautiful houses, boats. And I remember being there. I thought, man, if I lived in this house, this gorgeous house, man, I'd be a prince. In Gaza.
Yeah, you'd feel like a prince.
You'd feel like a prince being there. And I'm like, what caused them to start the Hamas up and to just dig all these tunnels, and to put cages underground, to hopefully one day we're going to hold Jewish babies, the Bebas kids. One day we'll hold them in these cages under the tunnels underground. They built those. They didn't just happen to be there. What caused them to do all that? Was it because Israel was mean to them? No. We're the only ones in the area, not Egypt. We're the only ones giving them jobs, electricity, water.
And gave them their land.
You just said,
let them
we're
rule
clearing
it themselves.
out.
Yeah.
You effectively have a Palestinian state.
Yeah.
And there's not a Jewish person in sight. So what caused it? And it's parenting. When my kids sent me that message, I was like, it's all about parenting. About how the parents, the fathers, taught them, you must go and murder someone. Come on, son. That's what they're teaching them.
Yeah.
Here's a little toy gun that you can, not just playing cops and robbers, no.
Yep.
It's saying, we want you to, and then you're going to get money.
When I wear this necklace, I feel that juxtaposition more than ever, because as a father of 5, they're the Hamas and these extremist Islamic leaders, they value death, and we value life. they value death. They want to go. They want to die, so they can have their. It's a selfish thing when you think about it. They're promised virgins.
72.
And think about it. Again, more oppression of women. Like even in heaven, it's an unbelievable. It's an unbelievable extreme thinking, a false religion that they have. And us, it's life. Chai, I'm wearing a necklace that says Chai, life. You know,
life.
as a
what we live.
as a Jewish believer, like
we go like this, L'chaim.
L'chaim, to life. That's right. That's
Boom.
right. To life. And really, for us, you know, and to get more positive, because we're in a heavy season right now. We're sitting at, you know, I remember going up filming a music video with Yair Levy. Him and I wrote a song called Home, and we're up at the Mount of Olives, and these young teenagers, maybe 13 to 15. They were yelling Allahu Akbar and throwing stones at us.
Oh.
While we're filming. We got on camera.
You're singing. Okay, wow.
We got on camera. I posted it once, like in an email, because I don't want to exploit these kids.
Yeah.
But they were little stones, so we weren't getting hurt that bad. But it was like they were like throwing.
Ow, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, who would do this? We're standing here smiling and singing. Nothing we're doing against these precious humans.
Right.
And they're yelling Allahu Akbar and throwing rocks at us.
Yeah.
And which means Allah is the greatest, right?
Yeah.
And it's also not necessarily what they were going to do, but also what terrorists always say last before they give kill themselves for their God and head off to their virgins.
Yeah.
Such an unbelievable, terrible way of thinking. Valuing death more than they value life. We value life more than we value death.
And that's what we'll go to the
end.
The bottom of the abyss to rescue our brothers, our sisters there, and not give up on them. Even myself, and I grew up in Israel, and I thought, are we really going to risk our own life? That person could be dead already. Could be dead or alive, I don't know. But we're going to risk our life to rescue this person? Hey, I mean, I don't know. I couldn't find him. No, we're going to keep on picking apart inch by inch until we find them. And so I just thought, man, parenting is something that is so important to understand, because this kind of teaching, parenting, could find its way anywhere. It could be in Norway, UK, France, England, America, Canada, Australia. It could happen that Hamas teaching could start right there. There's nothing stopping that because it's based on teaching. It's not based on having met a Jew. It's not based on any wrongdoing done to you by a Jew. No. So once we get that, then I think that is when I say wake up. That's one thing to wake up to, is parenting is what it's all about. Because in the West, they're looking for the American dream, or I want to live my life in peace. And if you hurt me, I'll hurt you back. But that's not what it is. The call to kill every Jew on the planet is not because a Jew did something to you. It's because that's the jihadist teaching.
I'm thinking about in Christianity, where we are supposed to die to ourselves, but it's always for the betterment of others. Like an Islamic attacker would die so that he could get virgins, so that he can be with Allah. Ours is not. It's the reward is so that they may be saved, or I would give my life so that they can have a full life, you know. Like so our Savior taught us, give His life up so that we can live life and more abundantly.
So to really give it encouragement, this is what I've noticed. We were here planting trees because we believe even the trees got to live. Trees will change the atmosphere, so the clouds will come. It's a whole cycle of amazingness. And so we were there at my house planting some trees. Some volunteers were there. They were Jewish people, not of any faith. I think they were atheists. And they were there, and they said, tell us, what do you think about this whole thing? And I said, well, I'll give you 3 perspectives. One's the political perspective, one's the military perspective, and one's the kingdom perspective. And there's like, interesting, what are those? Tell me. And this whole time, there was this Arabic guy standing there. And we're like, okay, so I'm telling it, and they're all listening. And so they said, well, the political is really simple. It means make a deal. We'll make a deal. Well, they want Starbucks, we'll get 10 Starbucks. I'll make a deal you cannot refuse. That way, there will be peace. Economic interdependence. I have the lumber, you have the thing. I have the bullets, you have the gun. I have the, I'll make a deal that will make sure that it'll work. And that can work on some levels. Hasn't worked in Gaza. It doesn't work with what we're dealing with this jihadism. The next one is the military solution, which is they shoot me, we shoot them twice as hard. And they shoot me again, shoot them twice as hard again. And keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going until quiet is all that's left. Okay? That also doesn't work for a long time. It does work, but only for a short time. Because after some years, it'll continue again.
Yeah.
So it does actually it does buy you a space of time. They said, hey, well, what's the kingdom perspective? It's like, oh, I don't know if you're ready for that one. He's like, no, tell me, I'm down. So, but he's an atheist, a group of these atheists. So I said, I'll tell you, I believe that it's possible for a change of heart and a change of goal and perspective, world perspective, so one will not want to kill us. And they're like, well, not with giving them a bunch of money with the political thing? A bunch of money? No, I said, not the money. And not with the military? So not the carrot or the stick? I'm like, well, yeah, not the carrot or the stick. So what are you talking about? I said, I believe that the Messiah will be able to. Now how? Maybe there'll be people who will go into these Islamic areas that speak Arabic. Brave people who may end up giving their life to reach their fellow countrymen. Yeah. But yes, I believe that there is a possibility, and they're like, get out of here! I'm going to the deli. This man is, they were Jewish people just saying, come on, And so then suddenly the Arab guy was like, can I say something? And we're like, uh-oh. Because he was like the driver, but we didn't know what was going on. So he says, he's like, I want to tell you, and I had to translate, but I'm trying to do his accent,
Hebrew?
He's like,
he was speaking Hebrew?
Yeah, he knew Hebrew and Arabic, no English really, but he's like, I learn Quran, the best, number one. I number one Quran, number one. I was like, I don't know if he's actually the number one Quranic scholar, but I want to go to Allah. And so he's saying he wanted to learn how to go to Allah. So he studied, he pored over, memorizing chapter after chapter of the Quran. So I was like, so what's your deal? And he's like, I found there was no way to guarantee heaven. There was no way to guarantee heaven except one thing. And I'm like, no, don't say. He's like, yeah, I have to kill an infidel. That's the only way. That's guaranteed. Me and my family, by the way, too. Plus, we get money from
Unbelievable. Think about that indoctrination from the top down. This is how these leaders indoctrinate their followers.
And he said, but at that
kamikazes.
Moment, he said, other ways is Allah's merciful. He'll give you, if you do this, Allah's merciful. Allah's merciful.
But you don't know.
But it's not guaranteed. He said, at that moment, he said, oh man, I don't like that. I'm going to look around. So he met a believer who shared with him. He's like, yes, you can also. And he said, his heart was so full of hate, nothing could get in. Nothing. He said, I would burn flags. I would scream death to Israel. That's just all I knew. I've never met a Jewish person at that time. His story is a long story. But to make it short, he said, at that moment, I said, if you are real, the one true God, and which isn't Allah, actually, God of Israel, and come into my heart. And these people are all listening, okay? This group is listening to this Arab guy. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And,
Great.
And so then he said, suddenly, the most amazing thing happened. My heart was so full of hate that nothing could go in. Then suddenly, it just immediately became so full of love that no hate could go in.
Whoa.
So if I tried to say, death to Israel, I just couldn't bring myself to do that.
Wow.
He's like, it was a complete supernatural shift.
I'm picturing the Grinch that stole Christmas, the cartoon.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Boop, 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 his heart got big. Wow.
And that's real. So they were like, well, you might be onto something with the kingdom perspective.
Wow, that's what Yeshua does.
So I do have hope for that, and I do think these roadblocks are going to be moved. The highway will be established. Yeah. Now, people got to get involved. Yeah. I would just go and say boldly, coming to Israel changes some of your perspectives, that you just adopt different perspectives, which some of them could be right, some of them could not be right. Why don't you come to Israel? Why don't you come to the Galilee? We have an ambassador academy. It's this school. You could do it for as short as 2 weeks, and we go throughout Israel. We meet key people, Arabic, Hebrew, leaders, generals, government people, everybody. We meet the most amazing people, and they impart part of this. It's an academic level syllabus. I mean, it's used in a university, at least one university I know of that it's used in. It's a syllabus. It's an academic level curriculum, and you come through it, but you're not stuck in a classroom. You're out in the best classroom on the planet Earth, the Galilee, Jerusalem, Herod's palace. You're seeing the Bible, and you're learning from people that have walked it, who've been there, and who've seen a few things, and it's just amazing.
He's seen a few things.
It's amazing. So we invite you to do that. And I don't think it's a nice to have. I think it's a must, especially for people who are wanting to grow in their leadership. they're gonna get tanked if they suddenly say, I stand with Israel and I read the Bible and I've read the verses, I believe them, I stand with Israel, and someone's like, they're doing a genocide. Are we doing a genocide? No, we're not. But let's go through how. What is purity of arms? What is spreading the leaflets and making sure, and the drones, and making sure, please exit this area by these rocket launchers. Please, we are caring for you more than any army in the world cares for any enemy.
Yeah.
Please, And so you got to get the facts as well, I think. And the Bible does say study to show yourself approved.
And you get to be with the people who are carrying the guns and realize these people are they have a great level of humanity, and they don't want to take any life.
Their fathers, their mothers.
All they want to do is protect, and that's a beautiful thing to see as well, firsthand.
Now, before we end, I want to ask you about America, anti-Semitism.
Okay.
What are you seeing? Because we're here, you're back and forth. You're like in both worlds. What do you see like a rising? It feels like it's.
It's interesting having you ask me this because you used to travel out a lot, but now you're stuck here defending the country.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because I felt like it was a season for our family to be. Our daughter was. We talked with our daughter a year in advance. Like, hey Emma, I think that Mom and I and the boys, we have a season ahead of us to be in the States. That God wants us on that side of the bridge, and that was 2 months before October 7th. I was here 2 days before October 7th, singing on the Sea of Galilee. I think you were there too.
Yeah,
with Kate Hess and all of our harp teams.
Beautiful.
But our family went back to the States to be a bridge on that side of the bridge. Little did I know, it was like God. I'm like, I think this is what God wants me to do. I felt it. It's always following that still small voice.
Yeah.
And then after October 7th, I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, I did so many events. We did an event at the backstage Grand Ole Opry. All these country singers that stood with Israel, and
amazing.
Just being able to travel as much as possible on that side. While you're over here, I'm trying to be a warrior with the guitar. I can't even take the title warrior, but
you
use
are.
the guitar.
No, though you are.
Use the guitar to be my weapon of warfare. And but no, yeah,
King David, Jehoshaphat,
antisemitism.
Joshua Aaron.
No, antisemitism is real, and I'm traveling internationally a lot. So, I'm wearing it right now. I'm wearing my Emmanuel hat.
Right.
Emmanuel in Hebrew, God with us. But I wear my Israel hat all the time. My pink one, my pink one for my daughter, my blue one for my son. And I get a lot of looks, and then every once in a while, people in the airports, they'll just whisper, "I like your hat." Like, it's very silent because they're afraid to say it too loud. And that is a sign to me, because most people are, they don't want to cross the line. But you can tell when people are like, "Ew, that guy's wearing an Israel hat," But the whisper is more of a sign to me than anything else. The people who do stand with Israel are actually afraid to say it loud.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Oh my.
You know what I'm saying? Like, whenever anybody says, "I like your hat," it's always a whisper.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And that to me is like, oh, wow, this is something I thought was obvious.
You're talking about America. You're talking
I'm talking about America,
wow.
and I travel internationally as well, and it happens a lot. The whisper, I call it.
Okay.
So it's real, and even when I'm encountering people in Greece, like talking to people about it. When we were in Athens a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and they were having River to the Sea riots in Athens.
Really?
What does Athens have to do with Israel?
Yeah.
I don't understand. It's permeated society, and I'm seeing it firsthand when I travel abroad. I can't believe it. I can't fathom it.
Yeah.
And my biggest question is, and this is, I've heard people like Douglas Murray and other people bring it up, but I've always had this question in my heart as well. Where were you when they were killing our Christian brothers in Syria? Where were you? I visited these refugees, I said earlier, in Germany, the refugee camps. They leave Syria, they flee Iran, and they're getting doused with gasoline in the refugee camps in Germany by the extreme Islams.
Oh no! Their place to run.
I'm hearing them telling me these stories. I'm not making this up. In Germany, I'm in Athens because they had to shift to a Christian refugee camp because they'd pour gas over their child. And I heard the mother tell me this. They held the match and said, "Convert back to Islam. We're going to light your daughter on fire." And all the other stories. You can imagine the other stories where they killed the parents and did what you unimaginable to their mothers.
Like an October 7th.
As they're fleeing, they're fleeing Iran and fleeing some of these Islamic countries. Where were all these people, these river to the sea people. This is why they're a fad, and they've allowed evil to permeate. This is how it's obvious to me. They've allowed evil, the evil one, to permeate their hearts because they're saying nothing about the genocide in Africa, right? They're saying they have said nothing about Christians, and there are thousands being murdered on camera.
Yeah.
Back 10, 15 years ago, on camera. And remember in orange suits, they were killing Christians.
Yeah.
No uproar anywhere. What they're
Except
doing.
Trump really pushed them back. Trump stepped
he did,
in.
But
he's
the
like
people were so silent.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there's one people group that's struggling, and I admit they're struggling. The Palestinians are stuck between Hamas. They're stuck in Hamas, but they've never said anything before. Therefore, it negates everything they're saying now. It is absolutely must be, just by looking historically what they didn't do and now to what they're doing. If it has to do with Israel, then they're involved. Then they're against Israel. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like Candace Owen, some of these people I never thought would say such evil things in such a terrible, timely manner.
Yeah.
When October 7th happened, when Iranian bombs, all of a sudden they're saying bad things about Israel. It's anti-Semitism is a real thing that only Satan could have started the seed to in the hearts of men.
It's true. I even think of Haman in Persia and how he could have said, I wouldn't have liked this, but he could have said, people should bow down to me, and Mordecai, this Jew, is not bowing down. I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to get him. I'm going to deal with him. Okay, that makes sense logically. Wouldn't want that to happen. You know what? His little cousin Esther too. I'm getting rid of her too. Okay, but not in the known world. I'm going to kill every single Jewish person that exists. A little girl in Africa, part of the Persian Empire, in the European part of the Persian Empire, I'm going to kill all of the, same with Pharaoh. Every baby, kill them all. Hitler. What is
Herod?
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense even. Don't you have other things to do? Don't you need to use some of that money on other things, some of that investment? But really to wrap all this up, I'd say, may we be good fathers. May all of us stand in the gap. May we all believe for God's prophetic word and stand on his prophetic promises. You know that you never hear Palestinians or the Hamas or Hezbollah or anyone saying, we want a Palestinian state. You ever think about that? Israel, we want it to be over here and not over. We hear some of the Westerners say that. Norwegian,
they want
Oslo Accords, maybe, but you don't ever have them saying never. It's just saying from the river to the sea. That means all the Jews dead or gone.
Yeah.
No, never do you hear them say we want a Palestinian state in Gaza plus here.
Just give it
next to Israel.
It's not life; it's death.
Yeah,
it has to be coupled with death.
They'll never live next to Israel.
We want all of them dead or gone, or nothing.
You don't hear Iran saying, as soon as you
don't care about
this,
the life of our kids, the life of our families right now.
Right.
We care more about the death of Israel.
Golda Meir said that.
The peace will come when they love their children more than they hate Israel.
That's right.
That's a crazy quote, and we've seen it time and time again that is the problem. It's death. Loving death versus loving life.
Well, God will always preserve a righteous remnant. And that's those people that come to gather the nations. Those are the people you're gathering. Those are the people that come to the Galilee, to the Ambassador Academy with us. Those are the people who volunteer and help rebuild the waste places.
Yeah.
The remnant. There's always going to be a Goshens.
Yeah.
I'll end with this. A friend had a vision that he saw these little fire in a vision. Little campfires around the earth. And there was a beam of light from this, and when you zoom down the beam, you could see a guy playing a guitar, someone singing, a few people singing, some people reading, some people cooking. That little place was a Goshen remnant protected place. Everywhere else was darkness and real end of days horror. But there were protected spaces, just like us in Goshen. So I called them Goshens.
Oh, yeah.
And there's Goshens everywhere.
I think the Galilee's Goshen usually.
I think so.
Usually when there's a war, Galilee's safer.
Yeah.
Jesus, man, he wanted to be here all the time. He's like, you want to get healed? Find me at the lake.
Right.
Think about it. 2/3 of his miracles.
Some fish and we'll do it. Yeah.
Seriously, I'm on the hillside and they just show up. He didn't say, come meet me, they just came to him in Goshen. Well, it's just a peaceful area here.
So now, quick, I wanted if you could just address the crowd and just talk about what's to happen in September or if you're allowed to say, in Switzerland.
Oh, Switzerland, absolutely, yeah. I'm hoping you can come. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see.
If they don't this year, maybe we'll get you next year in Texas. We're going to probably be in Texas next year. Gather the Nations is one of the main big pivotal reasons why I headed back to the States. just before the war, I didn't know there was going to be a war on October 7th, 23, is to start gather the nations, to prepare the nations, to gather the nations, prepare the way, and share the gospel. But to prepare the way for the King's return, it's Israel. In the last days, it's not just Israel, it's not just the church, it's Israel and the nations worshiping the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So we had a conference in Dallas with 1,200 people, our first conference for a whole weekend. And then the second year, 2024, we had a conference in Orlando, 1,300 people. And we're expecting that or more this year in Switzerland, believe it or not, in near Zurich, Switzerland. So come join us. Hopefully you can come. Gather the Nations, Switzerland, this September 26th, 27th. And we're going to bring a lot of Israel to Switzerland. So we're bringing Israel to you. Just go to it's just gatherthenations.org.
Yeah.
Gather the nations.
And even if I'm not able to be there, we'll see what happens. Definitely in the future, I'll be in Switzerland a lot as we're planning to open an Aliyah Returns in our ARC for short.
That's right.
ARC Switzerland. And there's a lot that's moving in that direction. And so we're excited to have a hub just like we have in Netherlands, just like we have in various places around the world, to have a hub there. So anytime around the year, you can come and stop in there. But definitely be there to gather, and we'll see you there.
That's right.
Even if I'm online.
That's right. Yeah, we'll have to, at the very least, have you send a video in.
Yeah.
But I want to encourage you all that are watching. First of all, Chaim, thanks for letting me join you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just everybody out there, you're in I don't know where you are in the world, but I'm just most likely rockets aren't over the top of you right now, and you're able to roam freely. Please use that time to be a light to your nation, to be a light to your people, to share the good news, and to bring joy and peace in the midst of crisis, and especially when you're on the mountaintops. Make sure you reach out your hands and glorify God, so that all men will see. Make sure you use your light. What's Matthew 5:16?
The virgins. Oh no, you're Matthew 5.
Before man,
you shine your light before men that they may see
your good works.
Good works and glorify
your Father in heaven. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Absolutely. And prayer really works. I know prayer really does work. We know that. But even think about this. Someone just recently shared this with me. It says bad things happen, and these things must be. But pray that your flight is not on the Sabbath day, that it's not in winter, that it's not when pregnant. You remember Yeshua talked about times coming, and he said, but pray that it's not. So what does that mean? If you do pray, now it's easier. Now it happens to not be on Sabbath. I had my nice Sabbath dinner, then I travel on into the next day. So you
pray
can
through it.
Pray us through this time.
Thank you.
Literally right now, and it's going to make a difference. I believe it.
Amen. God bless.